Hello? Hello? Hope that's working okay for everybody today. Hey Terry. Hey Lori. Hey Anna. I knew you'd love it. Thank you Denise. Welcome. Let's see here. There we go. Alright, welcome everybody. Hello. Oh hey Yummy Rocks, nice to see you again. And again, Terry, Lori, Anna, Denise, and anyone else tuning in, hello. How's the stream looking for everybody today? It's looking a little jittery on my end again. I'm not sure why that's happening, but just wondering. Giving you a little cleanup there. Hey Sharon, nice to see you. Giving you a little cleanup. There we go, it's a little clearer. Alright, so as usual, we'll start in about 15 minutes. We'll start at 2 p.m. and we can hang out till then. Thanks, Yummy Rocks, I appreciate it. I'm excited about this painting. So Yummy Rocks, anyone on Twitch, I'll be doing a tutorial starting at 2 p.m. So you'll actually see me do something step by step and instruct it. So you're welcome to follow along or just have a look as I do it. And then on Facebook Live, you all know the drill. Everyone knows what I'm doing there. Oh, and hey Terry, I missed Terry at the top, I think. Anyway, we'll give some time for people to pop in here. I know it's a nice sunny day, so maybe some people are spending their time outside today, which is totally cool. As usual, I'll keep this up on YouTube after, so no worries if you, even if you decide to step out after, that's totally cool. And Ju, hello! Nice painting in your profile picture there, it's very pretty. And if Facebook Live, if you're able to throw in a few little reaction buttons just to test if those are working, that would be great. Thank you. Some of those little thumbs, those little hearts, etc. I've got this pulled up on my other computer here, and I'm hoping I'll see them floating away on there. But as usual, we'll see. Okay, cool, Yummy Rocks. Perfect. We'll start probably, again, about 15 minutes or so. Just gonna give some more time for people to pop in here. So yeah, nice cherry blossom painting today. I figured, you know, summer is very officially here, so we're getting into the nice summery paintings. Spring summer-ish, I guess. I matched my eyes to the painting today. They're nice and pink to match the painting. And yeah, I just wanted to do a nice kind of soft background. I'll teach you how to do all that beautiful blending. Get all that nice softness in there, all that nice texture as well. There's lots of small little brush strokes in there. And then we do just lots of cherry blossoms, and honestly, the cherry blossoms are very easy. All they are, they're going to be some nice 5-petaled flowers. They're all very small. The key, I guess, is just doing lots of them. We're using lots of them and really filling up the painting with those. I'll go through the branches, of course, before we do those. And then the 2 cute little cardinals, which you're welcome to switch up however you like, of course. If you want to do more than 2, you can, or just one big one. I kept them a little smaller. I was trying to proportion them right to the cherry blossoms. I maybe could have made them a little bigger, but anyway. Thanks for the follow, MBM. Thanks for tuning in. Lori, hello. I can only see the reaction when I'm on my phone. Yeah, I don't know what happens with that, Lori. I get a little bit of both. Sometimes they happen on my computer, sometimes they don't. They never happen on here anymore, on the one I'm actually looking at, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Usually what I do is I pull it up on another laptop beside me, and usually I can see them, but not so far today. I'll keep my eye out. Last time they were working like halfway through for some reason, so maybe it'll decide to work eventually. We'll see. I'll keep it up and keep looking there. Hello Elaine, nice to see you again from Perth. And again, yeah, if anyone wants to shout out where they're from, just so we can see where everyone's painting from today, that would be cool. Feel free. Not seeing any reactions so far, so they might not be working, guys, but that's okay. I'm always a little sad when they're not working, just because they're so fun to see, you know? So fun to see, just kind of floating up as I go. Anyway. And of course, as usual, I did this painting with customization in mind, so very easy to customize certain colors if you want. Rather than doing the purple-blue background, I'm sure you can do lots of different things. I was even going to thinking about doing yellow, for example. I thought the yellow would be nice for the pinks to pop off of. You'll notice my cherry blossoms, they're kind of hidden in there with all the purples and things, so if you want them to really pop out, you could do more of like a yellow, maybe even an orange type background. I'd probably stay away from pink because that would really, yeah, hide those cherry blossoms, but lots of different versions you could be doing. And again, different cardinals, different birds. If you're not into cardinals, I know Anna is, so I know you'll be doing those, but yeah, blue jays, chickadees, choose your favorite bird, or the easiest bird to do, and you can replace them. Do lots of different birds. You can do like all these rainbow colored birds. That would be cool. I was thinking of doing that as a painting, like a nice just row of lots of different colored birds, kind of get all the birds into one, because everyone has their favorite, right? And they're all so colorful and beautiful. So I was thinking like, I could just do all of them, why not? Thanks for the little heart, Elaine, that's cute. Okay, so probably about 10 more minutes before we go here. And I just posted that fish painting, by the way, so we were talking last time about the underwater fish painting. That is for tomorrow at 7 p.m. EST. We had a little vote on Facebook and everybody seemed to be voting for 7 p.m. rather than midday, probably because they wanted to enjoy their day outside maybe, I'm not sure. But I was hoping, yeah, 7 p.m. rather than 8 p.m. just because, again, I feel like the kids will want to pop in for this one, so I figured starting just a wee bit earlier might be beneficial, so that's why I went with 7 p.m. rather than 8 p.m. I had a few comments about that, so I just wanted to point that out. I'm glad you're excited, Victoria. Awesome, yeah, you can check it out later on YouTube. I'll try my best to get it up as soon as possible. Okay, yep, still no reactions. I might even just shut this down just to make sure it's not eating up internet here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we have the fish painting, and I haven't scheduled any more, but of course I still have that Father's Day painting. I'll bring that out again just in case anyone missed it last stream. I did a little preview of it. Pretty happy about it. Pretty excited. So this is going to be sometime around Father's Day weekend. Still not sure if I want to do it on Father's Day specifically, on the Sunday, or if maybe people prefer to do the Saturday or Friday just so that they can like prepare the painting for Dad. If anyone has any quick opinions, you can let me know on Facebook here. But yeah, that'll be painted very, very soon. And Lori, I'm sure your Niagara Falls painting will be coming up very soon as well. Because I know everyone was very excited about that, not just you. There were lots of people excited, so this one will be coming up probably, maybe we could do this one next week too. We could do it before the Father's Day weekend. That would be pretty cool. And again, for Twitch, I created this live on Twitch actually, so everyone got to see me create this. Took a couple hours to figure out and to kind of get all the colors all right and get all the techniques, but yeah, it was a fun process. So again, I'll shout out Twitch. I've been on there recently just messing around, and I'll be on Twitch after I'm done this tutorial as well, just to mess around some more. I'm going to do some painting, kind of designing some upcoming tutorial paintings, maybe just having fun painting whatever the chat wants me to, so feel free to check me out there if after this you want to continue to watch me. Hey Charlene! Oh, I said Lori earlier, Charlene. Yeah, I was just showing off the Niagara Falls painting. Mixed you two up there. Nice to see you, Charlene. Are you painting today? Are you maybe waiting for later on YouTube? Let me know. I'll try this one more time, why not? Sometimes it works last minute. Cool, Elaine. Okay, yeah. I've been hearing like split half-half. Maybe we'll do yet another vote. I feel like we're doing votes every day now, but it's hard to keep track of everybody's opinions and feedback on things. I feel like we're always split halfway down the middle. So maybe I'll do another vote tomorrow, Elaine and everyone else wondering in terms of when to do the Father's Day painting, because I do think there are some people out there who want to do it as a Father's Day activity, like with Dad. So, yeah, maybe there's a way we can do both. I don't know. Like doing it twice, but I mean, doing it twice, I might as well just put it on YouTube, right? Then you can rewatch it. But I understand it's fun to join in live, so it's always my goal to do it live when as many people as possible can attend. And Trisha, the colors we need today, we have 5 colors. Just double checking. Yes, I was gonna say we don't use yellow, but we actually do use yellow. So we have red, yellow, phthalo blue, black, and white, and those are the 5 today. Yes, I know, Lori. Yes, sorry, I just caught on to that. Anyway, yeah, I know you and Anna and a few others were hoping for the Cardinals, so here they are. And Tara, for red, I would probably choose your brightest red. You said you have a bright and a deep red. The red I use is literally called bright red. So if you have a brighter red, I would suggest that one. I think that would be good just because we have, I don't think it'll matter as much for the pinks, it's more so for the Cardinals. This is just not straight here. Yeah, more for the Cardinals. We want a really nice, bright, punchy, beautiful red. So I would probably choose your brightest one. Yeah. And then Charlene, the colors, again, we have red, yellow, phthalo blue, black, and white. So we're using all 5 once again. We're usually using all 5. It's not often anymore that I do less than 5. Really liking the colorful painting, so incorporating lots of colors in there. Okay, probably about 5 more minutes before we officially begin. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to let me know and I can help you out. Just gonna pull up the stream one more time. Let's see if those reactions work. There I am. Ah. Again, if you want to throw up a quick little thumbs up or heart reaction just to see if that's working for me over here, that would be awesome. I hope I see them. We'll see, we'll see. And do I have the fishy painting with me? Yeah, oh yeah, so here's the little fishy painting we're doing tomorrow. So again, that was 7 p.m. tomorrow. Hopefully that works for most. Again, we took that vote, so I think it will work for most, but yeah, here she is. And again, I'm really excited for all the customizations on this one. I know a lot of people were excited about the idea of doing their favorite underwater characters, may it be Nemo or Dory, or maybe a mermaid. Someone was talking about some underwater mermaids recently. Lots of different things you can customize this with, so that'll be really fun to see what we all create tomorrow there. Lots of painting this weekend. Is anyone doing both today and tomorrow? Painting with me twice? I'm always feeling like I'm the only one who paints almost every day, but some of you do with me, so that's always fun to see. And then I'm just thinking of my brushes. Yeah, I use all 3 brushes again today too. All those materials. Whoop. Mute me there. We will see. Okay. Maybe weather dependent or just plan dependent. We can wait and see. No worries. No need to commit. Just wondering. Yeah, Mary, I see you all the time. Awesome. Great, I'll see you at 7 then. How fun. And it's quite a few of you who come to almost every single one. Awesome, Inju. That's great. Oh yeah, Elaine. Okay, yeah, that was our Thursday night painting, yeah. The mountains. Oh, I have that here too. I have all of these paintings right beside me. Did you have a good time with that one, Elaine? That was a fun one. I think a lot of people found the mountains a little challenging, but it was good. Once again, I saw all of the results and I love them. I love them. And the trees especially too. I think a lot of people were surprised by the trees. They were, I guess, having a little bit of difficulty on that first layer. And then once they got the second layer on, I found they're like, oh, okay, it kind of textures it up, makes it a little more realistic looking. So I'm glad some people, again, took their time. They were a little patient and they saw the payoff at the end, so that was good. Hey, Alicia from Portland. Awesome. So we're out of country today. Thanks for joining. Other side of country too, so you're painting a little early today, like 11 a.m. maybe? Cool, thanks for making the time to come. Yay, Colleen, I'm excited too. Great, I'm glad you loved it, Elaine. Some were saying that was their favorite too. It seems like with each painting I make, everyone says, oh, this is my new favorite. And I was like, oh, really? So that's pretty cool. Hey, Melissa, nice to see you again. I'm excited too. Can't wait. So again, I'll be painting this as a tutorial, and then I'll even be painting after as well. All right. Oh, we're at 2 o'clock. We're at 2 o'clock. Okay, I'm just going to check one more time for those reactions. I don't think they're working today, guys. So for those who are new, we usually throw little thumbs ups when we're ready to move on. So this time you can just type in the chat when you're ready to move on to the next step, but otherwise I'll try and go at a good pace as usual and give everybody some time to catch up when they need to with each and every step. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome. Oh, Trisha, the waterfall one, that nice kind of like rainbow background one, maybe? Yeah, I think that was everybody. I think I heard the most, largest number of people say that that one was probably their favorite. And Yummy Rocks, you're gonna sketch that one too. Color that one. Okay. Changing that. Okay. All right, everybody, thanks for joining today on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm Erin, for those who don't know me, of erinbunpaints, clearly from my page names on both platforms here, Twitch and Facebook Live. So yeah, the idea, in case anybody's brand new today, is I'll be teaching you step by step how to paint this design that I created with a few of you in mind, lots of you in mind, really. And yeah, and once again, it's unnamed. Feel free to throw some name suggestions in the chat, and we can name it before I post it on YouTube later. But for now, it's just kind of like a nice cherry blossom, cardinal, soft pastel, purple blue painting. Thanks, Charlene. It's kind of coming out, it's fading out very quickly, but I'll put more back in there. Maybe. Anyway, step by step. So what you can do is gather your materials together. Materials are flexible, of course. You can always paint along with me using my similar acrylic paints. Or you can, you know, draw, you know, watercolor, do whatever you have at home. I'll be using 5 different paint colors today. I have red, yellow, phthalo blue, black, and white. In terms of the brushes, I'm sticking to my usual 3. For those who have been before, we have the large flat brush, we have the medium round brush, and we have the small round brush. And different sizes of brushes are good for this painting, just because you can see we have lots of kind of like background larger elements mixed with the very small kind of delicate elements. So I definitely recommend at least 2 different sizes of brushes, maybe 3, 4, 8 for some people. So yeah, get all your brushes ready. Otherwise, I just have a cup of paint water, I have a towel beside me, and my apron, and that's it for materials. So pretty straightforward. I'm sure you can find some stuff in your home if you haven't yet, and yeah, you can get creative. Okay, so I'm going to switch this out here. So I'll be painting along with you, so you can actually watch me on my canvas here. I'll keep this one back here for reference. Is anyone having a nice summer drink today? We'll do our little toast if you want to get your little drink ready. You can do our quick toast. Need to just find it. Still haven't memorized it. It's still on my notepad here. There we go. All right, get ready. So I'm just going to say the toast. We can all toast together with our drinks, our snacks, whatnot, and then we'll get started. So ready, set, go. A toast from coast to coast to painting, but not complaining, to Bob, the total heartthrob, to you, to phthalo blue, and to me for willing to see the fun of painting after a cheers or 2 or 3. So cheers, everybody. Yahoo! And that sets us off. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with this beautiful, yeah, you knew it, Anna. So we're going to start with the beautiful background, everybody. So once again, if you want to change up the background colors, feel free. I'll teach you the technique and you can do whatever colors you want. Hey, Mocap, nice to see you as usual. I love that little emote. Hello. So what I'll be doing, everybody, is I'll be putting on a white base coat. So I'm just going to be covering all of my canvas with white and water just to make it nice and wet, nice and fresh. And then I'll teach you how to softly apply some different colors on top of there, okay? So you can take a nice large flat brush, dipping into my water, and you can grab white paint. Oh yes, Mocap, I will be going back to 2cam. I was just playing around with my setup earlier and it's a little bit of a mess and I couldn't quite figure it out before today's stream. But it's a good thing. I was playing around with it because I got more things. I got longer cords and stuff, so I was going to reposition some stuff and hopefully make it better. But I will go back to it, don't you worry. And for Facebook Live too, I find it better when I'm teaching. I have the two right here. It's just what we're all used to, so maybe you'll figure it out for tomorrow. I'll be back up tomorrow. Hello, Andrew, and your daughter. I'll shout her out if you put her name in the chat. Let me know. Okay, grabbing some white, everybody, and I'm just going to be applying that all over the canvas. You don't need to worry about which direction you're going, either left or right, up and down. This is really just our base layer, just to, again, kind of freshen up the base and allow for some nice blending for our next step. So we want to do this a little bit quick, so that's why you see me brushing a little faster today. I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit quick, just all over the canvas. So try and get this on in the next minute or so if you can. Do a little bit of a speed paint, and then we can slow it right down again and start to do some blending. And I do the whole canvas, but if you feel like you want to work in sections, maybe you've done this before and you've learned that you don't like the idea of filling up the whole canvas first, you could always fill up the first, like, top half, and then work on that, and then do the bottom half. Maybe you're in a warmer room and you know that your paint dries a little quicker. So yeah, you can plan ahead for that and alter as necessary. I already need more white. But yeah, Mocap, I think I have batteries coming today too, so my second camera won't die after 3 hours anymore. So that'll be fun too. Won't have to worry about that anymore as well. Lots of things coming. Okay, about 10 more seconds I'll give you to apply that white paint, and then we can go right into blending. So again, just a base coat. If you're missing a spot or two, that's okay. And if I didn't mention it before, you can also use water. So you can also dip your brush in your water, and that'll help spread the paint out and keep it a little more wet as well. It's a little bit of a race for this first little bit here. Alright, so our canvases are ready to go. You can see in the light here, nice and shiny. I've got lots of water, lots of white on here. And now what we can do is the fun part, in my opinion, just kind of brushing on small amounts of color to get these nice little soft bits in the background. So like I kept saying earlier, if you would like to change that up and do a different color, you're more than welcome to. If you need suggestions for which colors would kind of work well together or mix well together, just let me know in the comments and I can definitely help you. I chose purple and blue because they are right next to one another on the color wheel, so if the sections combine a little bit, it's no problem at all. They'll just kind of blend together beautifully. There's no worries about them creating a muddy color kind of in between if you have like a purple and a blue section kind of combined. So yeah, if you need to, you could look up the color wheel. Reds and oranges would be nice, yellows and greens would be nice, greens and blues, etc. But again, let me know if you need help. So what I'm doing, everybody, is I'm just taking my large flat brush here. You can see it's not totally clean. I just kind of wiped it off a little bit. Maybe there's some white and some water left in it. It's totally cool. And I'm going to start with some blue. Why not? Doesn't matter what color you start with, but I'm starting with blue. I know my blue is very, very pigmented. The paint is super pigmented, so I only need this tiny, tiny amount. And if you don't know how pigmented your color is or your paint is, start with a small amount. You can always add more. It's a little bit easier to add more rather than go backwards. So just the very corner of the brush, and all I'm going to do first for the start is I'm just going to apply some small little dots of this color. So I'm kind of just removing the bulk of the paint from my brush. I'm just applying it on here. So in small little dots. So you can start with that too, even if you want to just switch with one, for example, or start with one rather, that's totally fine. Okay, Yummy Rocks, that sounds fun. Doing a lot of multitasking there. Okay. And then what you do after you have the nice little dots of blue is you can blend them out. Hey Penny, nice to see you. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so I've got a semi-clean brush at this point. I'm just wiping it off. Thanks for hosting, Yummy Rocks. And what I'll be doing is just using the clean brush, brushing back and forth. And you can see what happens is it blends out that little blue dot and softens up that whole area. In terms of the brush stroke I'm using, I like to do these small little brush strokes kind of back and forth. You saw me kind of going back, forth, and that helps create some texture. So rather than having a very smooth overall background, I like to have small little brush strokes. So that's why I do those little small ones like this. Back, forth, back, forth. And in terms of where I'm brushing, you saw that I started kind of right where the blue was in the center. And then I started to kind of rotate around a little bit. So I was going round and round and round. And then that way, my brush kind of picks up more of that wet white paint in the background. Oh dear, oh dear. Sorry guys, that was my phone going off. You heard my ringtone there. Parents, you're trying to FaceTime me. Not right now. Not right now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. Keep going, keep going. We're just brushing that around. Parents, not right now. Not right now. I think they're watching too. So that's like real embarrassing. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going around here. Brush, 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 brush. All right. And again, that way the blue kind of blends into the white. It makes it a little bit softer on the outside. Whew, look how beet red I am. I'll set that back up in a second. All right, otherwise I'm just going around to my blue here, any other area, and just blending that out the same way. So you might get some sections that are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller, and that's kind of the point. You have lots of different sections going on. And some of them might start to combine a little bit. That's totally fine too. Rather than keeping them more spotty like you see here. I kind of do a little bit of both, right? I have some that are spotty, some that are a little more combined. Maybe you have like a whole blue section kind of coming down the side or going along the top. Whoops, but as long as you continue to use just a little bit of paint, so a little bit of pigment, and then lots of that white and water in the background, just brushing with your brush, kind of helping them all combine, then that's what you'll get, a very nice soft background, okay? So you can keep adding little bits of blue. I'm just going to fix my music here now that that phone call stopped. Oh boy. There we go. We're back. Alright, so I'm just going to keep adding little bits of blue to mine. I want more blue than I have here. So I'm just going to add a couple extra little dots here, maybe a little extra right here. And again, I'm going to try maybe to combine a few sections so I don't have quite as many like dots and spots. I want more of just, you know, light blue areas. So I'm going to brush on some light blue around there. And I'm just continuing to blend out my other sections that I just added just by wiping right on top, allowing the blue to mix with my white. See that there? Yeah. And I think I'll add a little bit more. It's really up to you how much or how little you want to add, of course. It's all different for everybody. You can even continue to add some blue on top of the blue sections you already have. So if you want to make them a little bit darker, for example, this is how that works. You can add just a little extra pigment, brush it on the exact same way. And because you're adding a second layer, it's going to get a little bit brighter, and it'll just kind of differentiate it from the other sections that you already have going on here. So you can see it's starting to fill up. I'm still leaving some white space, of course, because I do want some purple. At least in my painting, I'm going to have those two colors, right? So I want to make sure that I'm leaving a little bit of room for purple after this blue. So maybe I'll stop there. If you're ever wondering kind of if you need to add a little more blue or a little more of your color, sometimes it might just be good to say, maybe not right now. You can kind of give it a little rest, see how it looks after you add your second color, then you can always go back and re-add a little bit. Again, very easy to continue to add rather than going backwards. Okay, so again, the thumbs ups on Facebook are not working today, so if you want to just write in the comments even when you're ready for the next step, you can. I won't wait too long for this one just because I'm going to do a very similar step with just a different color, but I'll give you guys a little bit of time here just to keep playing around. Hey Kellyanne, nice to see you. Thanks for popping in. Are you painting today? Catching up perhaps, or waiting for the YouTube video? Bob Ross herself is here, Kellyanne. That was so cute what you sent me. Alright, perfect. I got it quick. Yeah, I got a couple thumbs there. Perfect, thank you. So I'll just go right ahead to the next color. Just to demonstrate the next color, again, if you're still working on your blue or whatever color you're using, feel free to keep going. I'm going to now work with a little bit of purple. So if you want to mix purple with me, I'm going to mix together red and blue. Red and blue. So the purple that's going to create is very, very dark, but I just used the straight dark purple on top of my wet background, and it did lighten it up enough into more of a nice soft purple as you saw there. So just so you know that, I wouldn't be worried if you have a dark purple. Just like the blue, right? We started with a nice dark blue, and it mixed with that white background, and that made it nice and light and kind of pastel, so you don't need to worry if you have a dark purple like me. You can see it's quite dark. And again, there's lots of different tones and shades of purple. I guess tones is the word. So if you're looking for more of like a bluish purple to match a little more to your blue, you can use extra blue when you're mixing your red and blue together. And if you're more like me and you like your more red toned purples, that's kind of what you see up here. I would call this more of a red toned purple. It's almost like purple to pink, you know, it's kind of bordering on that pink edge. You can just use a little extra red on in your mix there. Alright, so it's going to be the exact same steps. So I'm just making sure my canvas is still a little bit wet. I'm just going to dot on some purples. It looks like some of my areas are already dry, so I'm going to avoid those areas for now, and then I'll show you what to do with them. But same as usual, I just dotted on some different colors. So I dotted on, or the same color rather, I dotted on some purple. And I just very quickly wiped off my brush so there's no extra purple. And then that way what I can do is use my clean brush and just softly brush out the color. And you can see it just softens it right up. So the more you brush, the more it's going to soften because your brush is going to be hitting more of that white and water in the background. Right? And then the less you brush, the brighter it's going to stay because the bright purple is just going to stick on top. You're not going to be blending it in at all. There we go. So you can see how it's softly blended out, and that was just because I was using a small amount of paint with that small little dab of color, and then just using a clean brush or semi-clean brush to blend it all out. So I was saying earlier, I was avoiding spots on my canvas that look dry. You can tell very easily what's dry just by kind of shining in the light. If it's matte, that's going to be dry. If it's shiny, that means it's still wet. So I chose the shiny parts to continue working on here. But if you're like me and you already have some dry areas on your canvas, very easy to fix up. You can just grab a little bit of white on your brush and just reapply. So you're just doing the same thing as you did before, that water and white paint, reapplying to any areas that you need to. So just kind of working around what you've already done. You can messily put this on, go in between areas if you need to. Freshen it up, then you can keep going with your color. Hey HK, nice to see you! I hope you've been enjoying your weekend. I'm good! Every day's a good day when you're painting. So I'm doing a tutorial right now, HK, with Facebook Live and with Twitch. So you can just watch along or follow along if you're inspired. But yeah, I hope you've been enjoying your Red Dead and your sleep. Good combo for the weekend. Alright, so everybody, you saw me just reapplying white and water just in the mainly like bottom section. I had some middle sections that may have been a little bit dry, so I reapplied. And I'm just going to do the same steps now. Now that I have some fresh white and fresh water, I can grab a little bit of purple, kind of dot that on wherever I need to. Again, you can see how little amount of paint I'm adding, just small amounts so that it can blend out nice and soft. Missed a spot up here, I'll do that later. That's good, I'm glad, HK. Guess you're having a successful weekend, that's great. It's always good to hear. And same thing, I'm just taking that semi-clean brush, doing my back and forth brush strokes, back, forth, moving that purple around. And I mean, if you want, you could leave some spots blank. If you kind of like the idea of having some white spots, you can see I kind of did that here and there. There's maybe a little bit of either just very pale spots or very borderline white spots. You can do that. You don't need to fill in every inch of this canvas if you don't want to. I would say it will just give it a softer look if you have more white in there. So that one's totally up to you. I'm going to keep adding little bits though, just to keep demonstrating as we play around here. And I think I still have quite a bit of white space again up here, maybe a little more down here. As I said earlier too, you can always go back to your old color if you need to. So if you need to go back to blue or whatever color you started with, you can definitely do that. There's no harm in doing that. It'll just make things a little bit brighter and yeah, fill up the areas even more with the color of choice. So you can always go backwards if you need. Oh, hey Marissa. No problem. Let me know if you need me to catch you up, or if you're here just to watch for now and then you're maybe going to watch out for the YouTube video later. Let me know what you prefer. We haven't done a whole lot yet, so I'm happy to do some quick steps for you if needed. Okay, there we go. I think I'll add a little more purple in there. So again, you can stack on extra color into existing spots, and then that way you can blend those out and keep them a little bit darker. Just to add a little extra punch of color, especially in the middles. I kind of like to do that. That way the middle's nice and bright and then it kind of fades out. So you can see I'm just filling up with purple on the bottom here. I thought it was a little blank down there, so just softening it up down there. Then I added some extra purple. So you can see what I'll do is I'll just stroke a few extra times on top. And that way I have a little extra kind of laying around. You can see I have some now kind of more medium purple and some light purple, so a little bit of both. That just gives you even more different tones. Even though you're using two different colors, only two different colors, you'll have lots of different tones and shades in there. Shades, I always mix up those two words. They're shades. We'll have lots of different shades of color. That's right, Marissa. So Marissa, the first step was just adding white and water to the canvas because it was important that we have a nice wet base to begin with. And then exactly, we're just spots of purples and blues. And you can watch me actually do the purple, and that's going to be the same technique for both purple and blue. So I'll demonstrate again because I still want to play around with this anyway. So pretending my canvas is blank with white and water, I'm just grabbing a little bit of purple on my brush. What I do is I throw some dots on like this. Anywhere I want. Maybe I'll go here this time. Once I throw a few dots of color on, I just wash off my brush to make sure there's no extra color or pigment on it. And then use my brush to kind of blend them out. So I'm going back and forth with my brush, left, right, and that way I get some individual brush strokes, but it also blends out the color, softens it up, so it's not a little dot anymore. It's more of a patch or just a pale section. And I was saying to everybody, you can do this as many times as you want. You can see the more you do it, you get some semi-darker sections, so it's kind of fun to play around and keep adding. Yeah, no worries. Very basic couple steps, but definitely it doesn't mean that it's easy or that it's quick. I think it's good to take our time with this background, so I'm going to leave at least a couple more minutes. We can keep playing around. I know I want to keep playing around with mine, so I'm just going to keep adding a little bit of white and water to where I need to blend. That's really the hardest part, I would say, of this background, is making sure to keep reapplying white and water when needed. Because it's very easy to get caught up in just having fun and blending, and then all of a sudden you're blending on a dry patch, and then it turns a little bit dry and kind of rustic looking rather than soft and blended. So just important to continue to check in with yourself to make sure you're checking where you're painting and making sure it's nice and fresh and wet so that it blends out softly. So again, I'm just adding some blue here. I wiped off my brush and now I'm going back and forth, blending that out. And I don't think I said it earlier, but as well, if you need to blend those two sections together, like the purples into the blues, these two colors blend very nicely together, and that's why I chose them. So if you need to, or if you just happen to start overlapping some blue and purple, you can see. Just creates a nice in-between color. Doesn't turn muddy or anything. They'll all play together nicely. So you can do that wherever you need to. As much or as little as you like. I kind of like to keep them, you can see, semi-separate. Of course, I touch around the edges, but I do like the idea of having more splotches of color so the viewer can really see purples and blues, and they each kind of have their moment on the canvas. So that's why I kind of leave it a little more splotchy like you see here. I have some dots, I also have some sections, a little bit of both. Just deciding if I want to add anything more. Maybe I'll add a little more, it looks like in here. Maybe a little bit of brightness down there. Let's add some blue in that corner just to break up the purple. So you can see it's all about just experimenting, having fun. And I'm looking in the screen because it gives me a nice pulled back view of the canvas so I can really see everything kind of as a whole rather than very up close. So if you're painting very close to your canvas, give a step or two back, see how it's looking from a distance, see if you can point out any areas that you want to keep working on. Maybe it's that you need to blend them or you just need to add more color. So yeah, you can see that blue kind of broke up that area. Maybe I'll bring it over here a little bit, just a little bit. And where else did I say? I think in the middle, right? Yeah, right there. So again, just re-adding some white. Hopefully this is my last one here. We'll see. Again, I could really do this all day. It's a lot of fun for me to just kind of blend things out. And again, this was one I created live on stream as well, so everyone got to see me just have fun blending for a good half hour or so. I was just playing around with all my colors. That's what it turned out to be. There we go, that brightened it up a little bit better. Perfect. Okay, so everybody, I'll give you, again, a minute or two if you want to throw any comments or thumbs in the comments section rather than using the reactions today. That would be super helpful. Reactions, once again, are not working. Facebook, figure it out. Glad I found that poll option, though. Remember I was trying to conduct a poll the other day and I had to count all the emojis everybody put in the comments? My fault, but it's because Facebook hides the poll option now. You have to go into all these different settings on your page and create a special post for a poll. Ooh, it used to be right there. So I thought they removed the option, but they just hid it from me, so... Facebook, I've got beef with you. A few things. A couple of things you've been changing up on me recently. Alright, we got at least one thumb there. If anyone's bored or maybe has completed their background, you can also bring this around the sides. I'm not sure if I reminded you about that yet, but bringing the colors on the sides, you can definitely do that. So feel free to just move that pastel kind of purple blue on the top, side edges, the bottom edge, that way it kind of completes all the way around. Oh, hey Mish, nice to see ya. No problem. I know, I think a lot of people are enjoying the weather today, so you should too if that's what you're doing or you're a little busy. It will be on YouTube as usual as soon as possible after this, so you can tune in for that. We got another thumb. I'll wait for maybe one or two more, and we can go right ahead here. We'll be doing some branches next. We want to lay on all of our branches next, just so we have areas to place our blossoms. We have little leaves, and then we have some cardinals as well. Awesome, Andrew. I see your thumb. You guys are great at staying on pace. Oh, Charlene, I haven't decided when it is. I was thinking sometime next week, though, just because I haven't posted a painting for next week yet in terms of during the week. So I haven't looked at my schedule, but maybe like the Thursday or the Friday, I'll have a look at what I have going on. I would say like late, excuse me, oh boy, late next week. So it's Saturday today, I'm saying next week, like Sunday onwards, yeah. Very soon. Awesome, thanks for the thumbs, guys. Alright, so we're going to go on to our branches next. So the branches, what I did is I did some nice brown for the branches. Let me see here. There we go. So just so you can have a nice close-up. I would call this more of a medium brown. It's not very dark at all. It's more of the medium tone. I thought it was nice just to make a nice, you know, brown isn't a softer color, but it's not the darkest either. So I thought brown was appropriate here. I left the black for the cardinal markings a little later on. But yeah, for this cherry blossom tree, I made these just nice and small, nice and thin. You can see we don't have a whole lot of big branches going on. I did one kind of big one up here, big one, maybe this would be considered a big one, but mostly what it is that I used the branches and split them up a lot, okay? So I did a lot of V shapes, just small little branches coming off, and that really helped fill up the areas. So you only need to worry about a few big ones, and it's mostly just small ones from there on out. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that back. So let's mix our brown. For those who have joined me before, brown is not my favorite color to mix, but I make it doable. I have a little trick that we can do. The 3 colors that I've chosen, it's a little easier to mix. So for brown, everybody, whoa, you can mix, start to mix some red and yellow together. The brush I'll be using is actually the large flat brush to do that with, this one here. I would use whatever brush that you want to use to make your branches with those. So if you're going to use a smaller brush, maybe use that smaller brush to mix with. But I'm using this nice big one because of the nice flat edge. I love the flat edge to use when doing trees and branches. So again, the first 2 colors I'm mixing together are red and yellow. So I'm making a nice orange. I'm using equal amounts of red and yellow. That's important too, because I know, at least with myself, the tendency is to want to add more yellow to kind of brighten up the orange, but instead I'm keeping it even, red and yellow, and then it creates more of a fiery orange, like a really nice bright, almost reddish orange. Even in the camera it looks almost red, but it is technically orange, so try your best to do equal amounts. And then we'll be adding a 3rd color. I'll give you a quick second just as I pour my 3rd color on my plate here. Okay, so the 3rd color that we're mixing to make brown, so we've got red and yellow, we have black as our 3rd color. So I just dipped, once again, the corner of my brush in the black there. We only need a little bit. And I'm going to mix that into my orange. And as usual, it looks scary to begin with. It looks like a mistake, but then when you mix it together, it does turn brown. Okay, and this time what I'm doing is, like I said, I only added a little bit of black because I want my brown to be a little more like a medium tone brown. It's not the darkest brown ever. I mean, browns are pretty dark in general, but hopefully you can see it's more of a medium brown rather than what I would call like a very dark, deep brown. If I wanted it darker, I would just continue to add black, but for today, I'm just keeping it. You can kind of see it against the orange there. It's a little more on that medium tone. Again, you can do whatever shade of brown you want, but that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I've got that ready on my large flat brush. Again, you can use whatever brush you like. Alright, and what I'll do is I'll start with my nice big branch kind of going right across here because that's the branch that my cardinals are going to sit on. So I want to lay that down first just so I know where my cardinals are and I can kind of plan out where they are. So I start just above the corner. I'm going to use the thin edge of my brush. If you're copying me with the large flat brush, you can use the thin edge. I'm just kind of dragging up like this. I'm dragging up to the right. Looks like I did a little bend. And I was getting more in the middle, probably so that my Cardinals have something to sit on. A little more straight, I guess. A little more horizontal. And then I did another bend coming up like this, all the way up to the corner. And I ended it just before coming off of the canvas. So that's what I did. If you want to do a different version of that, of course, go for it. You don't need to do the exact shape that I did. But that was my main one that I started off working off of. So you saw that as I was going up, I was doing some kind of quick curves. I wasn't really doing, you know, light bends. I wasn't going, oh, a nice curve over here. It was more of a quick little angle. I would choose a spot and then I'd say, okay, I'm abruptly going over to the right now. I'm abruptly going to move up. So I would use that strategy too. I think that's more of the cherry blossom tree look, that you have these more kind of corners or edges on your branches rather than some nice smooth curves whenever you want to change the direction, right? Okay. Then the other thing you can see me doing is I'm widening this out a little bit. I do want to keep my branch relatively thin, but especially near the bottom, I want to make sure it's wider. So I'm just going along my edges here, kind of cleaning them up, but I'm also watching the width as I go, and I'm trying to make it wider as it comes down. So you can really see a nice difference here now in terms of where I started and where I'm ending. I have a nice wide beginning and a nice thin tip up there. I'm just going to clean up that tip a little bit more. There we go. Kellyanne, I'm just reading your message there. I would say, I would say the neon red wouldn't hurt, because if you don't like how neon they look, you could always just go on top with some red later. So why not try it, Kellyanne? It'll be an interesting experiment to see if you think it looks like unnatural or not, but Cardinals are very bright in real life. Very, very bright red, so maybe a neon would look kind of nice. Neon red, though, that's interesting. Fun that you have that color ready to go. I would try it, I think. Again, it'd be very easy to cover up if you don't like it, so I think it'd be fun. Okay, so I'm just starting with that one branch. I'll give you a quick second if you're looking at that. And then I'll go on to some branches with you. So again, I like to start with this one just because that's where my Cardinals are. Now I'm confident I know where my Cardinals are going. I can work all around them now. Okay, so I'm just refreshing my brush with a little more brown here, and I'm just going to continue to add some branches. So it's all the same technique. I'm still using the thin edge of the brush. I'm still kind of using, I guess, a little bit of pressure, dragging along, again, doing those nice corners for my branches. The only difference is, I guess, I'm starting to work off of the branch I've already placed. So I can now drag up this branch, and whenever I'm ready, I can start to split apart into a new spot. So I started splitting apart on the top there. I'll bring this like this so you can see me as I do it. So I'm working up the branch like that, and I'm splitting across here, splitting up. I'm just going to keep dragging it. I'll do maybe an abrupt little curve there. Once again, ending the branch off right near the top. So as I'm going along, I'm reducing my pressure as well. So I'm using more pressure on the brush to begin with. Maybe you can see my bristles, yeah, on the angle there. They kind of really press against it like this. And then as I'm going up, you can see how the bristles are kind of lifting off a little bit. They're not dragging as much. It's because I'm using less pressure. And that way I get a thinner and thinner line on the way up. On the very top, you can like barely have bristles touching. You can even use almost the corner of the brush, kind of dragging just the corner bristles. That'll help you get a nice thin tip right at the top. Once again, I'm just going on top again to kind of widen out the bottom to make sure I have a nice transition from thick to thin. For example, you saw my little corner there was a little wider, so I just made sure to match below it with the width, and that way it looks a little more smooth all the way. Hey Bernadine, nice to see ya. Thank you. It's a lot of practice, man. A lot of practice. Especially trees. I always say I think people, they get really freaked out by trees because they try them once and they're like, oh, it turned out awful, and it's expected that it's not going to turn out the best, honestly, the first time. Trees are very, yeah, they require a lot of patience and figuring out your technique in terms of making thin lines. I have found mine. Maybe it works for you. Maybe you have something else that works better, but yeah, just takes a little bit of playing around. So again, I'll show you another one here. Maybe I'll do one kind of coming off to the right. It looks like I did that here. So dragging along with the thin edge of my brush, slowly parting away. So I slowly parted to the right this time, or down, and starting to remove pressure as I get to the end. Again, removing pressure, kind of using my bristles at the very corner there. And then that way it becomes a nice thin tip at the end. Once again, I'm brushing just at the start here to widen out that beginning part, and I'm keeping that last bit a lot more thin, just kind of leaving it alone. And I'll show you another thing I'm doing kind of close up here after I add this one here. Let's go up here to show you. So another thing you can do to really get very nice thin tips is to kind of move your handle as you go. So the handle of the brush, I'll show you a nice close up here. I'm going to do my dragging. And then as I'm getting to the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my handle down. I'm just going to go down like this. What that does is it encourages the bristles to kind of flick off almost, and it encourages, again, you to use just the corner. See how those top bristles are flicking off and no longer dragging? That allows me to get a thinner line because the bottom bristles were dragging. It created a very nice thin line there. A little easier when I can do it all at once. That's why it looks a little bit jittery there. Like that. There we go. This just smooths it out. But yeah, play around with your handle too. So moving your handle kind of down as you go. Yeah, Bernadine. I'm glad you can relate. Everyone can relate. No one picks up the brush and just automatically knows, right? And like I said before, I think that's important to know too, that my technique might not work exactly the same for you. Especially because you're probably using some different brushes. Different paints maybe be acting differently. So you might kind of discover your own technique as you go. Maybe it's just using, again, a different brush, more or less paint, whatever it may be. So play around. And something I like to do to my branches, you can see I do a lot of splitting like this. I find that really helps fill up the area without being too concerned about making brand new big branches. Instead, you can kind of work off of what you have and just split them apart. So here's another split. So just near the end here, kind of creating Y shapes. Because those look nice and natural too. A lot of trees have that where they're kind of splitting at the ends, because that's what branches are. They're just like little splits everywhere. There's V shapes everywhere, just things splitting off, splitting off, splitting off. So I really especially like to add those again to the ones that I've already painted. It's just an easy way to fill up the area and to make the branches look a little more delicate. We have lots of thin lines going on to make it look a little more dainty. So working up here. Looks like I've even split one kind of going this way here, so I'll split maybe right up here. And again, you're welcome to follow along with where I'm going, or you can just go at your own pace and add these wherever you want. The only real thing I'm looking at right now is that I'm leaving this area just a little bit empty just for my cardinals, but otherwise I'm going anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere that I want to add some cherry blossoms, I'm going to add my branches, right? And I am trying to mimic my painting in the background here just to keep it to the design that I made. So that's why you see me continuing to reference there, but again, if yours is looking a little bit different, that's kind of the whole point. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. think I'll add one down here. So yeah, when I was making this painting, I figured out this was a big empty space, so I made sure to do one kind of medium-sized branch kind of coming over, down like that. And again, trying my best to keep with those quick curves. So I had more of a rounded curve there, so I tried my best to make it a little bit sharper just by adding a little more paint and abruptly curving. Or turning, I should say, rather than curving. And sometimes when I'm making trees, when I'm filling them up anyway, I encourage everybody to kind of float the blossoms, leaves, whatever we're adding off of the branches. But for this one, I will be adding my blossoms directly on branches. So just as a heads up, you'll want to be adding branches wherever you want cherry blossoms. So we won't be doing that method where we kind of put leaves or blossoms kind of around the branches. We'll be putting them directly on. So really make sure you're putting branches wherever you want your blossoms to be. So that's why I really made sure I had some coming down here, for example. Oh, it looks like I even bent this one down. Just to really fill in as much as I can. I love the idea of having a really full tree, full of beautiful blossoms, so that's why you see me adding lots and lots of branches today. But I guess my theory that I said before stands as well, that if you're worried about how much you're adding, if you're thinking you might have a little too much or that you just don't know if you have enough, you could always re-add branches later. So you could take a break from branches if you think you're nearly there or just about there, and then you could always go back and add some brown wherever you need some extra branches, even after we do the cherry blossoms and after the cardinals if you want. If you want to revisit this after having a good night's sleep, for example, you could do that. You know the techniques, you'll just kind of redo them whenever you need them. Okay, just having another look here. Making sure all those areas are taken care of. I think I need to split this one more time here. There we go. Okay, yeah, so I would say this is pretty similar to this one. I'm going to move this over just a touch. Oops. And it does really help everybody to keep reapplying paint here. You saw that I had a little oopsie there. That was because there was less paint on my brush and my bristles were kind of dragging incorrectly due to that. There was just too little paint, so they weren't really sticking together and dragging nicely. So really make sure that each time you go in for a new branch, if you want to make it nice and thin and nice and clean, just wipe a little more paint on your brush. You don't need to scoop it on or anything. I just kind of wipe it, you know, on top of the little pile I have. That way that there's just a little extra paint, and that'll help it really go nice and smooth when I stroke it on. I'm just trying to see if I have any extra space in here. Maybe I'll extend one of these branches a little bit further. There we go. So that space is covered. I think this one might want to come out a bit more. So you can see you can lengthen branches too. That's what I'm doing. I'm just going on top of ones I already have, moving them a little bit around. And this looks kind of empty too, but I didn't really add anything there. Alright, I'll just stick to what I have there. You can see pretty similar, pretty similar. So once again, I'll give everybody a minute or two here, and then we can keep going here. We might even actually want to give it a couple minutes just to let it dry, now that I think about it. So if you want to let me know when you're ready, that's helpful, but I will give at least a few minutes here just for the sake of drying time. I know when I was doing my blossoms, I was able to go straight into them in certain areas, but then other areas maybe there was a little extra brown hanging around that was affecting my pink, so just want to be super safe there. We can give a little extra time for some drying. And I guess in the meantime, if you have any questions in terms of how your branches are doing, maybe there's something going a little awry or you just want to check in on a technique, you can let me know. I can either re-instruct or help you individually if you have any quick questions for me. So feel free. yeah, again, lots of fun looking up cherry blossom trees online, kind of getting that inspiration. They are so full as well. Mine looks pretty full, but the ones I saw online were just filled to the brims of the branches. It almost looked like there were no branches. You would see like the base of the branch and they would just be clobbered. So you really could fill yours up even more than I have mine too. Awesome, Melissa's all ready. Again, I'll give an extra minute or two at least just for the drying time, but if you're ready, that's great. If you're ready, you can even wash off your brush. We won't be using that brush again, but just to make sure the paint isn't drying on it, you can do that. Check over your branches, see if any need a little extra detail, a little extra help. There we go. And what was I going to say there too? Oh yeah, and if you have any branches that maybe turned out a tiny bit thick, or maybe that you weren't a fan of the very tips of them, you can see mine are all pretty thin and pointed, but there are some that got a little bit kind of jittery at the ends there. Some that I wasn't a huge fan of, like that one there. I was like, ooh, what's going on? Don't worry about it. It'll dry, and then we can put cherry blossoms on top of those areas very specifically if you want. That's a strategy I use all the time. If I don't like something, I'm like, okay, something will go on top of that. Especially trees. Very easy to do. Put a leaf on top, put a little animal on top, anything. And then we don't need to know what's underneath there. All we know is it's a branch. Awesome. Lisa's all ready to go. Let me know if your branches are dry too. Maybe your branches are drying a little quicker than mine. And again, I do definitely have some dry spots, but just so I don't accidentally go on top of any wet spots, I'll give it a couple minutes here. Something you can do if you want to busy yourself. I know I'm always like, I want to keep painting and I can't. You could take a small brush and kind of smooth out some areas. So for example, I'm just going to smooth out any big blobs of brown. That'll help it dry a little quicker. So I had a couple blobs right around my edges, it looks like. That's pretty common to happen just because the paint is being kind of pushed out to the edges as you drag your bristles, right? So look for those wet spots, look for those blobs, and just kind of press them down or smooth them with any small brush. Or big brush, but it'll be harder with a big brush, of course. I just take my small one, you can see, and kind of drag, smooth things out. Right along that edge. And you can even pick up the paint. I don't know if you can see that, but I kind of picked up a little blob of paint. And then you can wipe it off, and then that way it's not on your canvas and it's not causing any trouble, right? Kind of like lifting it off a bit. Just the big blobs. Very wet, yeah. Okay, we'll leave a couple minutes for sure, no problem. Mary's all set. Amazing. So yeah, if anyone's having very wet branches, you can do exactly as I'm doing, just kind of looking around. I'm kind of shining mine in the light, that's why I'm picking it up. Really helps me see any glistening areas, because again, any areas that are glistening and shiny are fresh and wet. So I'm just kind of pressing down that brown or lifting it up off of the canvas. Either one works. Smoothing it out or lifting it off. You don't need to worry about places like this, really, because we won't be adding many blossoms down there. But anyway, it's more so if you want to keep busying yourself. Awesome. Ah, there you go, Trisha. Yeah. Cardboard, all of that good stuff. Yeah, I heard it just kind of eats up the paint almost. I still haven't painted on card or cardboard myself, but I've heard from lots of people who have been, so I've learned that. I did paint on a rock, though, semi-recently. And that dried very quickly, too. It was weird, because it's not like the rock was really eating up the paint, but yeah, it was difficult to blend because everything was getting a little dry. Very quick. Probably just because it's such a dry surface, I don't know. Yeah, it was fun, though. And I saw someone painted on a rock the other day for the nice mountain painting, which I thought was such a cool idea for the Rocky Mountains. They were on a rock. It's like, how cool. Painting it on the actual subject. Be like painting this one on a tree, for example. Interesting. And it just shows the creativity when people do that and really utilizing what they have at home. I think it's very, very cool. Oh, Michael's here again. Shout out to Michael. I know he was here the other time too, Kellyanne. Awesome. And I know I've said it before, but if you have a hair dryer, you can even use that a little bit just to help dry things. If you're really, really wanting to paint, you can do as I'm doing, do a little bit of a wave. Do a little dance as you do it. Painting can be active. It can be an active activity. You got your arm moving and stuff, and then you start to move this around, get a little exercise. Yeah. Mine is drying pretty quick, guys. I don't know how you're feeling. Let me know if you want maybe an extra minute or two. Even if you're just using this as a nice break, you can let me know, because we are going quite quick through this one, so got some time. It's probably going to be a little less than 2 hours. And again, even if you have some dry spots, some wet spots, we could even start in the dry spots and then kind of work our way around to when the wet spots dry up a little bit extra. I'll wait for a couple opinions, because mine is pretty dry. I just want to make sure you're all good. Pick which brush I want in the meantime. I've got a few round brushes going. They're all different in terms of how split apart they are. They're all the same brush, but this one you can see it's more tipped. This one's more like starting to split, and then this one's like the bristles are just, you know, exploding. So honestly, I strategize with which one I want to use, even though they're all the same brush. Alright, Melissa's good and dry. Maybe I'll wait for one more just to confirm you're all ready to go. Again, just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Maybe I'll give you a nice close-up of what we're going to do next in the meantime. All our nice little blossoms. So what I'll be doing is using lots of different shades, actually. Not lots, I chose maybe 2 to 3 different shades of pink. They're all very, very light, as you can see, but just gives it a little bit of variety. Colleen, my hands aren't that bad today, but yes, I could totally relate. Most recently, it's been getting in my hair as well. There's my other hand. Trails down my arm. Yeah. Yeah, the other day I was like, I don't know what I did. I just brought my brush up to here, just right on top of my hair, and I was like, oh, good. So, alright, Alicia's ready too. Excellent. Okay, so again, here's a nice close-up of your blossoms. I'll be using a nice medium round brush here, so that was the brush I was just looking at here. And what I'll be doing is I'll just be using the very tip of the brush, and when I choose an area, I'm just going to do 5 little petals. What I like to do is I like to start at the tip of the petal and drag down to the middle. So I'll kind of do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's really all there is to it. I'll be using the nice light pink to start, and then what we do is we have some dark pink that we put in the middles there. Okay, so we'll do that later. For now, we're just doing kind of the base of the flower, the nice light pink. Yes, it will, Adrienne. No problem. I appreciate you stopping in. Adrienne, it will be on YouTube as usual. I always post all of these tutorials to YouTube indefinitely, so you actually have lots of time if you want to do it next week or the week after or whatever, you can do that. So, yeah, no worries. Kellyanne, I've had that happen too. I got it in my mouth the other day. How, you ask? Well, paint gets on my handle, and sometimes, look at that, like you see that big blob there? Sometimes you see me go like this when I'm trying to grab other things with my hands, and I just ate some paint. It happened. It was not great. Stayed on my lip for a couple minutes, and then I noticed it, and I was like, what the heck is that? And it was just paint just resting right there as if I was a messy eater. Gross. So great. Okay, so you can grab your medium-sized brushes, your medium round brushes, and just repouring a little red. I'll be making a super, super light pink. Okay, so I'm just using a little bit of red into lots of white. Oh, it's quite tilted over there. Fix that in a minute. So a little bit of red on my brush. I'm going to mix it into lots of white paint. So see how light that is? We want it super, super light. That's one thing I really noticed when I was looking up reference photos, how light these blossoms were. Even like bordering on white, they were so, so light. So using tons and tons of white and just the tiniest amount of red, that's all you need there. Nice super soft pink. So when you have that mixed, I would say it's important to make sure your brush is prepped properly. So you saw what I did there is I kind of rolled the brush. I was trying to get any big blobs of paint out just so I can get the shape of my brush back. If you really mix it around like this, your bristles start to get all messed up and that's not going to give you some nice petals. So you can either wash it off like I am or just kind of roll it around. Just make sure it's kind of nicely shaped again. You have that nice tip of your round brush because that'll be nice to use when doing the petals. So you can see when I'm adding the paint, I'm kind of brushing it on so that way I'm kind of reshaping that tip there, making it nice and pointed. Okay. So I've got my light pink on my brush. I demonstrated earlier, but I'll demonstrate obviously with pink now. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to choose where I want my blossom to be. You can mark it or you can just visualize where it is. And you're just pulling 5 brush strokes into that middle part. So I'm just using my tip of the brush kind of angled like this. Maybe I'll show you from this side. Touching the tip, pulling down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that gives you a little blossom shape. You can see a little bit of brown through there. I'm just going to stack on a little extra pink. That helps it disappear. Alright, and that looks super soft. You can barely see it. I'll try and choose maybe more of a purple area so you can really see it pop off there. But that was it there. Let's go up here. That would be nice. Okay, ready? And I'll show you a front version this time. 1, 2, 3. And so, yeah, for the bottom ones, you can see I like to switch kind of up like this, and then that way I can still use the tip pulling up into the middle, up into the middle. I just find it helps keep all of those nice little petals nice and thin at the tips. And they don't need to be thin petals, right? It's more so just that the tips have a little bit of thinness there. They're a little bit pointed, but the base of the blossom, you can see it's quite thick. So if you're finding that too, you're right on track. So there's another one. Let's do another one maybe right beside it just so you can see again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's another. And it's important to keep reapplying the paint as usual as you do this, just so you get some nice clean lines as you brush down. And it'll help you cover up brown. You can see again, there was a little bit of brown showing through, but as long as you pile on a little more paint, it should cover it up nicely. And then in terms of placement, I was saying before, but I like to keep these directly on the branches. They're all very much hanging on. I don't really float them off this time. Sometimes I do that where I kind of put things around the branch, but just for this one, just for the cherry blossoms, I think it was best to keep them right directly on the branches. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. You can go on the very tips of the branches if you want. As I said, if you want to strategically, you know, cover up anything like that, you can. Or if you want, you can kind of work your way down the branch a little bit. That works too. So you saw me continuing to do that here. I'm just going to maybe come down for this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do one right down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm sure you'll get a little quicker as you go too. You won't have to go 1 at a time, 2, 3. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just kind of go a little bit faster as you start to learn there. But yeah, you might find the paint to be a little transparent. If that's happening, just grab a little extra paint, try and softly apply it. So the harder you press down, the more the paint is going to kind of pull off again. So if you're trying to cover something up, you want to apply the paint softly, just very light pressure, just kind of resting it on top. And you can see it will eventually cover up, depending on what paint you're using. So this is going to be a nice little peaceful time where we just add lots and lots of blossoms. You can see they really go everywhere. I like to fill up the whole tree with them. The only difference that I'll be making is that I'll be changing up my pink a little bit as I go. I'll be sure to let you know when I do that so you can really see when that's happening, but in the end it's going to be the same technique. Oh yeah, no worries, Kellyanne. Yeah, I'll keep going here. I have lots more to do, so no worries. So the pink I'm using is a very, very light pink. I have lots of white with just a tiny bit of red in there. Very soft pink. I'm using a medium round brush. I'll go up here so you can hopefully see it a bit better. Using the tip of the brush, and what I do is I pull the petals in to the center. So I'm using the tip of the brush. You can see I kind of angle it like this, so I'm not going straight or straight. I'm going at an angle. And I bring 5 petals down. So 1, 2, 3. For the bottom, I like to switch like this so that I have the tip pointing down. 4, 5. So the tip of the brush is always pointing at the end of the petal, right? Because you want to get that nice shape. That's why we're using this nice round brush. It'll automatically give you a nice tip at the end and more of a wide center. So by using it literally directly where you need it, you can create some nice, easy little petals. And that's that, Kellyanne. So they're all 5 petals. Very basic shape. Again, just pulling down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's another one there. They can differ a little in size, of course, if you want to make a couple bigger or a couple smaller, but for the most part, I would say they're pretty much the same size. Okay, so you'll see me going a little quicker now just so I can fill up my areas. And again, I'm not going to fill this up as much as this one quite yet, just because I have other shades of pink I want to work with, so I'm still using the same shade for now. And I'm just going to add maybe a couple blossoms to each branch, let's say that, and then what I'll do is I'll go back with different shades of pink and really start to fill it up. So if you see me doing only 2s and 3s, that's why, because we have different shades to add later. And I would still add these even in the lighter areas. So even if you are applying a cherry blossom and you're like, oh wow, that's so hidden, I can barely see that, you will see it eventually because we're going to add some nice pink centers, right? So it's important that you are putting down the bases even in the areas that you don't think it's needed, because when you add those nice dark pink centers, it'll pop it right back out again. I want all the spaces to have their blossoms, right? Again, you can't see off here, but I guess off camera, I'm reapplying my paint every single time. Every 5 petals for each blossom, I have fresh paint on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reapply. 1, 2, 3, 5. You saw me go in the middle here. That's fine too. I'm planning on putting a cardinal here and maybe up here, so as long as I'm leaving those 2 spots blank, all good. And again, that's up to you where you want to put your cardinals or birds or whatever you're making them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Winding at that one. There we go. So you can see it's starting to fill up. There's still lots and lots of space here, so I've got lots to go. I'm going to keep adding here. And again, you can do the tips of the branches. You can go like halfway down. You can even see I'm going along the thick branch right here, of course, so really anywhere you want. I guess I would say I do like to pile maybe a couple extra near the ends of the branches. I find that's where I saw most of the blossoms when I was looking up references. So while you can add them everywhere, you could choose to add them in larger amounts closer to the ends of your branches here. Kind of all bunched together, you know? I'll do a couple more up here, I think. Just like that. do one more up here and then I'll switch shades here. Got quite a few of that super light pink on. Oh, and you're welcome, Kellyanne, no problem. So, no rush. Whenever you think that you have enough of kind of one shade of pink, you can just go on to a new shade. It can be at any time. So I'm going to choose now. I'm going to say, all right, now I want a new shade. So all I'm doing on my brush and my plate here is I'm adding a little more red to my existing pink, just a tad. I still want it to be a very soft pink, but I just want it to be slightly different than the last pink I was using. I'm making it, again, slightly darker. Not much, just a little. Okay. And then I'm doing, obviously, the exact same technique. There's nothing that's changed in terms of the shape or the technique. The only difference is now it's a little bit darker. See how it's just a tiny bit darker? I would still call this a nice soft light pink, but next to all of its other super light pinks that I just did, it's going to look a little different, so it's just going to give a little more variety to your painting as you continue to fill it up. And this was kind of a decision I made to do, honestly, when I was looking up references. All of the cherry blossoms looked pretty consistent in terms of the shade of pink they had, but just for variety, I thought it would be fun to add some slightly different shades. And they did vary in shade from photo to photo, I would say. I just didn't see, you know, a variety in one photo. It would be like the next photo would have almost white blossoms, and the next photo would have very, very bright ones, so I just thought I'd incorporate that into the same painting, you know? So again, continuing to re-add paint as I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost like we're creating little star shapes. Kind of like wide stars, right? Not quite as tipped and straight as a little star doodle would be, but we have the 5 points. That guy's a little messy. There we go. And of course you do want to try your best to make the petals about the same lengths. They do look a little messy, maybe when certain petals are a little bit longer. So I'm just making sure that I'm going back and maybe lengthening a few out just to make them match a little bit better. I think it's this top one here. There we go, and it kind of evens it all out, makes it a little more round and even looking. So again, just working my way around here. Starting to fill up. Still want some more for sure. Hope everyone's having a good time adding. Again, I found this part very relaxing when I was doing it. Just one at a time, and with each one it gets better and better. More and more filled up. Where else here? Maybe some more on this end here. And again, we're avoiding the bright pink, not only because that's what I saw in the references, but because we save bright pink for the middles as well. So if you're kind of itching to have some hot pink in here, I would wait till you see the middles, because the middles really give that nice punch of hot pink as well. Oh, I see, Kellyanne. Yeah. So this is just new blossoms. So I'm not putting this on top of what I have. This is just a new shade of pink. I grabbed a tiny extra red and mixed it into my previous pink. So here's a good example here. See, those two are a little different, those two. So I only have those 2 shades on, and these are new blossoms. So I'm not going on top of old ones. I'm just placing them kind of in the same areas, just using this to continue to fill up the whole painting. Yeah, no stacking yet. If they overlap a little bit, that's okay, but again, these are, yeah, new blossoms that I'm doing. Different spots, you could say. Oh, we need lots down here. And I will be doing one more shade after this, everybody, just as a heads up. So if you're wondering if you should fully, you know, fully fill this in, I will be adding one more shade, so you still have one more shade after this one to keep filling with. And that is up to you too. If you want to do even more than 3 different pink shades, maybe you're just kind of mixing new pinks as you go. Some people do that. They don't work off the same pink the whole time. They just kind of continuously mix slightly different shades of light pink. Totally fine as well. If anything, you'll have more variety, more kind of depth in there because you'll have lots of different shades going on. I find different shades always adds a little bit of good depth, right? Because you have some that look a little more highlighted or some that look a little further back, so get lots of variety in there. I think I'll move on to my next shade very soon. I think I'll add a couple more of this kind of slightly darker pink, maybe over here. Got none over here so far. And again, I always recommend to kind of pull it back, and then that way you can see the whole painting. You'll start to easily see any areas that you might want a little extra blossoms in, or any gaps that you see. Going back and forth, looking at mine and this one. Excuse me again, oh boy. A little burpy today. So there's one there. Maybe another one right there. Do like one more right here. Alright, so again, you can keep taking your time. I'm just going to now mix a new shade of pink just to fill in any last spots that I want to, just kind of continuing to really fill up the area. And I'm actually going to go back to using a super, super light pink. I started with a pretty light pink, but in the end, I actually added an even lighter pink, so I would call this one, again, bordering on white. It's very, very close to white. I just add the tiniest amount of pink in there, so instead of adding a little bit of red, this time what I do is I grab my white, and then I grab a little bit of pink, and that way I'm adding the tiniest amount of pigment possible. And you can barely see the difference, but there's just a tiny bit of a difference there. This is a very, very pale pink. And I like to use that for my blossoms, just as my 3rd shade. If you started maybe with this shade, you can just keep going a little darker. You can go somewhere in between the 2 shades you've already done. As long as it's just slightly different, I find it makes a big difference. So I'd encourage you to do the same. Just make a nice, slightly different pink. And it's the same thing, I'm just adding these in. They are different blossoms, but similar spots. Again, you can overlap a little bit here and there. Maybe you're getting lots of little bunches of blossoms. If they overlap a little, that's totally cool. They'll just make it look even more full. And you can see I am really focusing now on bunching them up a little bit more. I would say I'm adding my little bunches a little more clearly here. I like to add these bunches at the ends of the branches specifically to really fill them up. Maybe I'll add one right there. Yeah, so you see that? I have more of a bunch right here, and then I have a big gap here. I find that really adds to the painting, just to have small little clusters of blossoms rather than evenly distributing them. I try and avoid that as much as possible. I try and avoid, you know, symmetry and adding things the exact same or in a lineup, for example, kind of all in a row. I like to do my best to purposefully mix it up, which is hard for me to do because I'm definitely more of the A-type personality, perfectionist behaviors, etc. So I'm always like wanting to keep things in line, organized, and when I'm doing trees and things like that, I want to try my best to mess things up on purpose almost, right? So overlapping a little bit. Again, keeping clusters here and there. Yeah. So mine's looking pretty full. I think I'll add a couple more here and there. But I'm liking how it's looking. And I'll say again that if you're ever at a point where you're not sure if you need to add more blossoms, you can always say, I'll stop for now. You can always add more later, just like I said with the branches as well, right? Same thing. You can add more branches later, you can add more blossoms on top of those branches later. And I will let you know that I do add tiny little leaves as well, even though, once again, I didn't see many leaves in my references when I was researching cherry blossoms. I just decided I wanted some little greenery in there. So I added it. Because it's my painting, and I can do what I want. That's the great part about painting. It's just your own. You can do whatever you like. I like to border behind or in between, kind of making realistic things, but also just adding whatever the heck I want as well. So that's why I'll be adding the little leaves today. I just wanted some greenery in this, I felt. I felt it was getting a little too pink-purple only, and I felt the green helped kind of add a new punch of color in there just before the Cardinals that we add too. But yeah, I hope you're all doing the same. Do what you want. It's your painting. You make it yours. Okay, continuing there. So again, they're getting very bunchy, lots of little bunches. There we go. Maybe a couple more up here. And we're getting to that time where you can let me know if maybe you were speedier than I am, or maybe you're done with your blossoms. You can let me know in the comments, and then we can keep moving forward here. I really could add these all day. I say that all the time. I'm doing a nice little semi-easy step and it's just repetitive. I could just go all day doing it. It's just nice to be able to lose myself in doing it. I especially like the little clusters of 3, I think, when I have like 3 different shades of the pink there. I think they look really nice together when I do just a little cluster. Doing that a lot, apparently. It's just what's happening today. Yeah, exactly, Alicia. Maybe you should. Maybe you should just fill up the whole thing with blossoms, because it really does look cool when it's even more full, I would say, than this. But what you could even do is like keep following along with me. I'll teach you the last few steps, the Cardinals, and you can go back and do it forever. Yeah. Alright, so I'll keep adding until I see a few thumbs. I might as well just keep adding on mine because I like adding lots. So, but I'm ready to go whenever you guys are. You can let me know. Imagine I get no thumbs and then we just go for 3 hours adding blossoms. Everyone's just totally fine with the idea of adding them forever. That'd be great. That would honestly be a lot of fun. I'm already getting a few thumbs, so that's not going to happen today. I'll wait for 1 or 2 more and then we can go on to finishing up these blossoms by adding some centers. And you'll see it really helps them pop off. It gives them a whole new look. Now the thumbs have stopped. Have I given you a bad idea? Oh, we can go for 4 hours? Let's do it. Seriously, there's only the two. I was just prepping for the next step. I was like, oh, maybe not. Maybe not yet. There we go. Thanks, Melissa, for saving us. And Alicia, cool. Okay. Getting worried there. Alright, so the next step for our blossoms is just to add the little centers. I'll give you another close-up look. But this is where the, again, very nice bright pink starts to come in. So in the centers of cherry blossoms, you have a really nice bright pink. And I kept it nice and simple just to, yeah, kept it simple to keep it simple. I added centers to each of them. Of course, depending on the angle that you're looking at the blossom, you might not be able to see some centers, but I chose just to add some bright pink centers to all of mine. So the brush I'll be using is a nice small round brush, just a nice any detail brush you have. And all you do for the centers is just a couple different brush strokes. I just did kind of like a little crisscross of brush strokes. You can see that they're not very clean. They are quite messy. Right? So you don't have to worry about making perfect thin lines, kind of crisscrossing, making more of a star. It's more so just doing brush strokes, and that way you get some thinner ones, some thicker ones. Because that's kind of how they are. They're not, again, exact star shapes or anything. They're really just kind of pigment in the middle, and it kind of just very quickly blends into the nice light pinks on the outsides of the petals. In the reference photos I'm talking about. So you can use a detail brush. You can go to your plate here, and you can mix a medium to hot pink, I would call it medium to dark, medium to hot. So using lots more red this time and just a little bit of white, because you still want it pink, you don't want it red, so lots of red, a little bit of white. Yeah, awesome, Colleen, yeah. Got the whole day. Alright, so whenever you're happy with your medium to hot pink, and just any darker pink is great, I'm just taking my detail brush, and like I described, I'm just going to do a couple crisscrosses with my brush, so just using the very tip and sticking right in the middle. Just maybe doing 2 or 3 little lines, so crisscrossing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 or 4 lines, anything works, whatever you think kind of fills up the middles. And I try to keep them pretty small. You can see, because they're so bright, they really pop off, so I wouldn't recommend doing them very big and kind of covering up the whole flower or going into the ends of the petals or anything. These are just supposed to be little middles, and once again, because they are so bright, they're going to pop off very nicely despite being so small. So just try to get every single middle, doing a couple little crisscrosses with your detail brush. See how it really helps them pop off. When you bring it back, you can now really see those ones that I added centers to. So that's why I said if you were worried about any of your lighter shades maybe blending into the background a little too much or being hidden, if you have a really light background, for example, these will really help pop those ones back out again. Just shows the viewer where the center is, and then they can kind of see the whole rest of the cherry blossom around it. Very helpful. No worries, Kellyanne, yeah. So I'm using the detail brush, any small brush. I'm using a medium to hot pink, so using lots of red with just a little bit of white in there. And then all I'm doing is I'm adding the centers of the blossoms just by doing a couple crisscross motions. So I'm doing like little lines just all crisscrossing. And I was saying earlier they don't need to be clean, so I did maybe a cleaner one right there. You can see all the little tips, kind of 1, 2, 3, whatever. But yeah, if you're crisscrossing and it gets a little messy, your bristles start to overlap a little, that's fine as well. But yeah, I would say the main key to this is keeping it nice and small, because it is such a bright pink. We want to keep it small so it just kind of stays right in the center and still pops off nice and bright. And I know when I was doing mine in the background there, I was missing some cherry blossoms. I think I've said this before, but I try my best to like go, you know, in line here, because if I start to scatter myself, which I tend to do, I start to go, oh, I want to go up here, I want to go over here. I start to miss some little blossoms. So even as I was finishing that one up, I was finding blossoms which I forgot about, which were just totally hidden. So I had to re-add some centers right at the end. So do your best not to forget any of them. They all deserve a little middle. They all need a little chance to shine, so just, yeah, be careful as you're going along, get every single one. For me, it helps to just stick to one branch at a time, and then that way there's no way I'm missing them. I'm kind of going from the bottom to the top, working my way up, making sure each one is taken care of. Yeah, so they're really starting to pop off. Look at that. It gives it a whole new look. I love it. Almost there. So again, these do not have to be clean. So if you're really, really taking your time, you can if you want to, but I'm just letting you know that mine are not super clean. They are, in my opinion, messy in the centers. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick little, see look, I missed one down here. He was so light, you can barely see him, but he is there, so I'm just going to add a little center right there. Just going to have a look around, make sure I'm not missing any more. Sorry, blossom. Okay, yeah, I think I've got all mine. So I'll give you guys another minute or two. If you want to let me know whenever you're ready there, we can go on to our next step. Our next step is going to be adding some leaves. As I said before, leaves I didn't find very traditionally on the trees themselves, but it added a little bit of greenery to my painting, so I chose to do it. Let's give you another close-up just so you can see. See, it just adds a little different punch of color in there, so we'll be doing that next. There's a nice close-up of my final blossoms, just in case you wanted to see them again. Messy, messy. That's okay. They all make them, it makes them all a little bit different again. They're all going to be a little unique in their own way, right? And now would be a good time too to maybe have a look around your whole cherry blossom tree and decide if you want to, whoops, add some more cherry blossoms. You don't need to do that now, but you can kind of note for later if after adding these centers you're saying, oh, there's still some gaps here and there, or still some areas I would like to fill up a little bit more. You can totally do that. I'm going to start washing off my medium-sized brush just for the next step there. It looks like some of you might still be working. So keep painting. You can let me know when you're ready. And I'm excited for the Cardinals. That'll be our last step. I always like to leave the subject of the painting for the last step. For me, that was the Cardinals. Just kind of the last little bit there, so I left them for last. You can keep adding away. I think mine's looking pretty full. I still do see some areas though that I could go back to and add some more to. Like I keep saying, in those reference photos that I saw online, they were just so full of blossoms. They're just clobbered, barely saw any branches. So you really could add lots if you wanted to. Awesome, thanks Melissa. I see your little thumbs ups. Thumb ups. Thumbs ups, I don't know. Okay, let's mix some green. I'll teach you how to mix this nice light green that I used, and then we can apply it all together. So I'm using my nice medium round brush. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing 3 colors again together. It's mostly going to be 2. It's mostly going to be yellow and blue. So I'm using just a little bit of blue and lots of yellow, because as you saw in my reference there, I'm using a very, very light green, just to kind of match with all the nice light pastel colors I had going on. I wanted to make sure I wasn't using a super bright green. It's more of a lime green, very, very pale. So you can see that lots of yellow, a little bit of blue makes a very nice lime green. And then the third color I add is actually a little bit of white, so that'll lighten it up even more, and again keep it more on that pastel, very light colored spectrum. So you can see adding the white gives it a little bit of a difference, even lighter than before. And I found this complemented those pinks a little bit better rather than a dark green, so that's why I'm going to stick to this light green. Okay, so super light green. And this is going to be a very similar technique to the cherry blossoms actually. We just want to do that stroke using the thin edge of the brush, or not the thin edge, excuse me, the tip of the brush. And we'll be stroking in to wherever we want the leaf to go. The only difference is we just need 1 stroke this time. We don't need 5, right? We're not making a flower, we're just making a leaf. So here we go, I'm just using the tip of the brush. I'll show you at this angle here so you can see me. Actually, I'll go, yeah, I'll go like this, I'll go from here. So using the tip of the brush at the tip of your leaf, and then stroking inwards to where you want the leaf to go. And that's all. So I now have a little leaf kind of bumping out from my little cherry blossom here. And that's where I do like to add these leaves kind of in and amongst the cherry blossoms to make it look like they're kind of underneath, hidden behind, but then popping out just to say hello. So it's almost like you're adding a new petal, right? You're almost adding like a larger, I guess, longer petal to where your blossoms already exist. You could think of it that way too. Because it is using that same stroke, that same technique, with the same brush, just a different color, and just once instead of 5 times this time. So see that, how it's starting to fill it up, give it a little extra color anywhere where you have a blossom already. If you want, you could add some leaves on their own. I chose not to. I chose just to add them to where the cherry blossoms are. But you could easily, you know, poke one off of just a branch here, or maybe the end of a branch if you want to do a little hanging leaf. That would be really cute actually. So if you like this technique and you like the look it's giving, feel free to switch it up and move the leaves wherever you need to. You did, Charlene. That's so good to hear. I think it's pretty necessary after painting so much. I love wearing my apron. It's kind of like, alright, it's my time to paint. I'm wearing the apron. I still wear clothing that I don't really, you know, mind getting paint on, of course, but the apron just makes me feel some sort of way, you know? When I put it on, I'm like, yes! It gives me some confidence, makes me ready to paint. I don't think Tamara's here today. Tamara comes to a lot of these painting instructional live streams. But Tamara was kind enough to offer to get me a Bob Ross t-shirt. She was talking about that in one of the recent live streams. And she did. She got me a Bob Ross shirt, and it's in the mail right now, so I feel like that's going to be very much part of my uniform now when I'm getting ready to paint, rather than just going in my drawer of clothing that I don't really care about getting paint on. I'm definitely going to be pulling out my Bob Ross shirt now, and then putting the apron on. He's going to give me lots of inspiration there. Sharon, I would say, like, not every single flower, but most. So, for example, here's a nice cluster of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only added, 6 of them there. I only added 3. I'm just kind of doing what I feel. Just kind of adding them anywhere around. You can see it just kind of borders the clusters a little bit. You don't need to add one for every one. You can if you want, of course. Like there's 3 for 3, for example. Looks nice. I just add as many as I think are, you know, needed to fill up the area a little bit more. You could add 2 or 3 to 1 if you want. I just didn't want the green to completely overtake the pink cherry blossoms. I think that was my idea as I was adding these, so I didn't quite do 1 for 1. I would say I did a little less than 1 for 1. So you can see, even doing less than one each time, it still fills it up quite a lot, gives it a nice new punch of color. Yeah, no problem. So I think I am reaching that time there where I'm, I missed another one. See, there's another blossom up there. I totally missed him. I'm gonna go get him in the middle in a second. I always feel so bad. It's like I'm leaving them out of the party. I invited them and then I'm like, forgot about you. So again, I think I'm coming to the time where I've added enough greenery. I'm happy with what I have. Again, you should do whatever you feel in terms of how much or how little. So you guys can keep adding. I'm just gonna throw in one more little hot pink center to my blossom. I'm sorry. You're joining the party again. So just grabbing that hot pink, doing a quick little middle. There we go. It's because it's so transparent. Sometimes I miss them. But yeah, I'm good with that. So once again, I'll give you a couple minutes there if you're still adding some leaves. And then we can all move on together. We just have our cardinals to go. I think a lot of people were waiting for this part. Their favorite part. I'm wondering if maybe some of you have changed this up too. Maybe you're just like, I don't even care about cherry blossoms. I'm just here for the cardinals, right? Who knows? Maybe we'll see some that are just cardinals on some branches. Maybe a couple cherry blossoms are hanging around, then we have the two bigger cardinals. I don't know. I don't know. As usual, I'll be interested to see. I'll open up that Facebook group as usual, and we can all post our beautiful photos in there when you're all done. And I know when I was creating this painting, I actually did do the whole thing where I went back and added branches too, so just know that. You're on my page if that's what you end up doing too. I think it was these ones that I ended up adding right here. I didn't have those before, and it was pretty blank in that whole area because I was being careful just to make sure there was lots of room for my cardinals. And it turned out that I left a little too much room, and then I started to add some more branches, so everyone does it. No worries if you need to. Alright, so just waiting for a thumb or two. Charlene, what do I do? Right now they just all get stacked up. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to do with them right now. I made a donation semi-recently to a retirement home in the area, in the KW area. A retirement home at St. Luke's Place in Cambridge, actually. And yeah, I've donated with them before. And usually what I do is I go in with the paintings and I actually, you know, hand them out to the residences there at the seniors' home. And sometimes we play a game for like how they get to choose them. Like maybe they'll roll a die, for example, and it's like if you get a 6, you get to choose a painting or whatever. But yeah, this time I wasn't able to play any games, unfortunately, or actually hand them out just due to COVID. So what I did is I just dropped off, I think it was 2 full boxes worth, so it was about 40 paintings total. And yeah, my contact there was able to take them in, and she said she had good plans for them to give it, again, make it more of an activity for the seniors rather than just like, here's a painting, there you go. It's more of a fun activity they get to do, so I trust that she'll be doing that semi-soon, or maybe she already has, I'm not sure. But yeah, I miss being able to do that. Usually when I make a donation like that, I'm pretty hands-on and involved in going inside, but totally understand with COVID restrictions, especially retirement homes. I was like, oh yeah, I'll stay out. Want to be very safe there. But yeah, any retirement homes, any hospitals, anyone that just wants some paintings to dress up their homes with, or just areas. I mean, obviously I'd like to give back locally, but yeah, if anyone knows of any areas, I'm willing to drive to just to give out some paintings, honestly. Because they just get stacked up in here. I wish I could show you the stack that's in my living room right now. It's almost to the ceiling. It's outrageous. Not needed. There you go. So yeah, Trisha does art gallery fundraisers. There you go. Yeah. Something similar to that. And I know that the retirement home that I go to, they have done fundraisers with them before too, which is totally fine by me. As long as the money's going to a good place, being donated, do it. Okay, I did see a few thumbs before those questions, so let's go right ahead to the cardinals now. So last step, we're doing some little cardinals. So I'll be using my nice detail brush. Okay. Oh, Allison, you did. That's so sweet. There you go. So even you guys do it too. That's so nice to hear. Maybe you have a lot of paintings like me and you start to do that as well. Detail brush. I'm grabbing some red paint. Plain red paint. Maybe I'll just give you a close-up of the Cardinals first and then we can do them all together. But I would call these like medium size. They're not the tiniest little guys. They're not huge. They're just anywhere in between. I was trying to proportion them, you know, so that they are proportioned to the cherry blossoms. I thought this was about the right size. Maybe they could have been a little bit bigger. Not sure still. But when you really break it down, the shapes, they're not that hard. I will break it down again as I'm painting, but just to show you, what I start with is kind of an oval shape, kind of like an egg, just kind of sitting on top of the branch there. Nice round oval. And then what I do is I do kind of a square on top, and I make sure to line up the square with the back end of the cardinal. I found that really helped with the shape to line up the back end here so it looks like more of a straight back and more of a rounded belly, so you can really tell which way it's facing, aside from, of course, the beak and the markings on the face. I found it very important to do a little bit of feathering up here for its little hairdo that it always has, just kind of flicking my brush up to give it a little feather up here. And then we just have the little tail. So once again, kind of flicking your brush, literally feathering it just down to the left or down to the right. And then anything else you see are details on top. So I used a dark pink or dark red, excuse me, to outline a little bit of a wing. And then I did a little bit of detail, of course, in the face area here with the black marking and the orange beak. And that's really all. I wanted to keep it a little more straightforward just so no one was horribly intimidated when they saw these. So that's the idea. So I'm grabbing this tiny detail brush, as I said earlier. I'm grabbing red paint, as I said earlier. And we're going to start with our oval shape. So I'm just going to choose where I want my cardinal to be. As I always say, you can start a little smaller than you think, just to kind of gain some confidence, get that paint on there. And then you can just make it a little bit bigger at a time. So I'm going to make mine taller, of course. Again, we want it egg shape or oval shape, and we want that to be going height-wise rather than length-wise. So I'm kind of growing mine up a little bit like this, making it a little bigger at a time. I think already I'm about reaching the size that I want, so I'm going to fill it in just so I can see how it's looking. You can definitely overlap onto the branch if you want, that's totally fine. You might find that your red is a little transparent like mine though, so you might see through a little bit. Just pile on the paint. You can always add a second layer if you need to, a second layer of paint just to really cover up the brown. There's my oval shape. And to be honest, I do like to make it a little more rounded out on the side that the cardinal's facing. So see how it started? I guess I made it just a tiny bit straighter over here. It's just more of a straight curve versus this one's more of a very rounded curve. I like to do that just to give my cardinal a nice big belly, and again, I think it shows the viewer where the cardinal is facing once we add all the other details in there. Kellyanne, you could try adding a little bit of black. I honestly haven't used neon paints very often. I've used like black light paints once or twice, but not a whole lot. I would try just adding the tiniest amount of black. That's what I'll be doing to make more of my dark red, so that's why I'm guessing that. Yeah, try that, and if it's not working, again, you can either just follow along with the color that you know you're not going to use, and then just to get the shape on, and then you can always go on top with red later on whenever you find it. But yeah, here's my egg shape, and I'm going to do one cardinal at a time, I've decided, so I can show you twice. Next, what I do is I do a little square on top of the egg. Literally just a square right on top. Looks a little out of place for now, but I do clean it up, so don't worry. So to clean it up, just while we have it there, I'm going to actually straighten it out too. So to clean it up, what I do is I just use that back edge and I kind of combine it with the body a bit, just so it doesn't look quite like a square resting right on top, right? I'm just moving my brush down the left-hand side and kind of combining to make it look a little more flowy, I guess. It kind of flows into one another rather than just being a a straight square on top of a brown circle. I do keep this one a little more just square and edged though, just because I picture that's kind of where, again, the head is facing. Maybe it has more of a chin like us here, so we have more of a gap in between the head and the belly, right? It's going to be more of a space in between, so I think it's good to leave it just like that actually. On top of this square, you can do a little bit of a hairdo, so I'm just using my brush and flicking upwards on the left-hand side specifically. So I do kind of a longer stroke right at the left-hand side, then I stroke a little smaller as I get further down like that, so it has a nice little hairdo. See that, how it's matching? Just again, a few little extra feathers at the back of the head. There we go. I'm just trying to straighten this out. My head's getting a little wide, it looks like, but that's okay. We'll just work with it. And then lastly, I do a little tail feathering. So I'm just going to grab some red. I kind of stroke out down to the left. And once again, I'm making some longer feathers kind of in the middle and keeping some shorter feathers kind of on the outside, so it kind of tapers down into more of a triangle. See that? How it's nice and wide, then it comes down nice and thin. You can definitely see that brown through my red, so I'm just going to pile on some extra red in hopes of covering it. Otherwise, you could let it dry and pile on a little more red on top after it's dry. That would help for sure. So those are the red steps. I'll just leave that there for a quick minute so you can have a look at what that's looking like. And then we just have a few little details to add in there. I'm just mixing my next color. Okay, so you have a good little look at that guy. So what I'm doing next is I'm going to add the nice dark red to give it a little bit of detail. So we have the wing detail, and I did add actually a little bit of dark red in the tail as well. So what I've done on my plate is I've mixed together red with just a tiny bit of black, and that gives me more of a maroon color. Here, I'll show you. Ooh, on this heavy, heavy plate. It almost looks brown in the camera there, but it is more of a nice dark red maroon color. So that was just by adding a tiny bit of black into a larger pile of red. That gave me more of that maroon. And then I can use this to very delicately and lightly shape out a wing and the tail a little bit more. So for the wing, it's just kind of resting on the back edge of the cardinal. And all you do is you follow along the back edge here, just kind of brushing that on or dotting it on, whatever you need. It might move the red paint around as you do this because you're kind of using the bristles, and the bristles might move the red paint. That's okay, as long as there's dark red showing up instead. That's totally fine. So I go down almost to the tail, and then what I do is I bring it back up kind of in the middle, doing a nice curve. So I have my tip of the wing down here, and it just kind of stays a little more open up there. Just gonna raise it a little higher. There we go. So it's like he's kind of resting it. Actually, I could have brought that down a little lower. Let's do that. If you make a mistake like I do, you can just kind of rub it off with your finger. Just gonna add a little more red there. Hopefully it doesn't get too messy. And I'm just gonna bring my wingtip down a little more. It looked a little short in my opinion, so I'm gonna bring it down. Got a little messy just because I added lots of red there to cover up, but you can still kind of see it. As long as yours is looking good, that's all I care about. There we go. I think that's a little bit of a better length. It's kind of coming right down, almost to that tail. Nice big wing, right? And then I think I said before, but just in case, I do add some dark red to the tail. I literally just splotch it in, so either drag it in just by doing some little brush strokes, or I just tap it on top so it gives it almost a little texture. But mainly what it's doing is it's darkening up the tail a little bit just because there's lots of layers there. We're going to get maybe a little bit of shading there with all of the beautiful tail feathers. So I think some dark red is a good choice there. You can barely see it just because the brown is showing through, but it is there. Again, I either brushed it on or tapped it on. Both work. Both work. Okay, and I've got 2 more little steps for the cardinal, and then I'll repeat them all for this guy as well. I'll go a little quicker, of course, with the second cardinal, but I'll do them all again in case you need to see again. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the beak. So we have a very tiny little beak on our cardinal, a cute little beak, really. And use some orange for that. So I'm just going to my plate here, I'm mixing yellow and red to get a nice pale light orange. I would say I used more yellow than I did red, so you can maybe do that as well. Just use a little extra yellow in there to make it more of a pale, bright orange. And you're really just making a small little triangle coming from the right-hand side. At least that's where my cardinal's looking. He's looking to the right, so I'm making sure it's coming to the right here. And when I looked at cardinals, I found the triangles to be pretty thick, actually. So if you're worried about making a thin triangle, you don't really need to, because I made mine quite wide. It is small for sure, it's a small little triangle, but I would say it's very wide. So rather than making a super pointy triangle that comes to a really thin tip, you can almost keep it a little more rounded. And I find that looks good. So there's my little orange beak. And you can see that I did place it a little inside of the head there, so it's not resting right on the outside. We want it to come a little further in, right? Because it is kind of coming into the head. It's not literally poking out from the edge and going like that. It's kind of coming inside like here. That's the beak. And I'll just throw on the last little detail. I think one of the most important details of our cardinal is just the little black markings that you see around the face, kind of signature to the cardinal. So for that, I'm just using my detail brush with a little bit of black on there. Brushing it all around the beak. So this black marking, it's not really a specific shape. I'll let you know that it covers the eye of the cardinal, so we're not even going to put an eye on here. We're just using the kind of black pigment to kind of hide where the eye would be. But I'll give you a nice close-up as I go. Really what it does is it borders the beak, so it kind of goes above the beak here. I bring it a little further into the head, so where the eye would be, right? It's kind of covering that area. I'll bring it tight to the beak again and just kind of border the beak kind of messily. And that's really all there is to it. So I would say the main feature is that it extends a little further back up at the top where the eye would be. So the eye would be around there. And then otherwise it's just very messily bordering the beak. So you don't need to do a solid line or anything. It kind of come in and out or down a little further. But that is the main look there. It's almost like he's wearing a little mask, right? Covering his eye and somehow around his nose and beak. But yeah, that's him there. And that's the last little detail of the cardinal. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that second cardinal. Maybe I'll talk as I go through it just so you can kind of watch me as I do it if you need to see me redo any steps there. But yeah. And that was just about 2 hours. Look at that. Awesome. Worked out well. So I'll just say as I'm painting this last cardinal, thanks for coming, guys. Hope you had a good time. I'll give you a reminder that we're painting again tomorrow at 7 p.m. That was the decided upon time for our nice little underwater fishy painting. Hope to see you there. Again, I am very excited about that one with the customizations. I really have a big feeling that we're going to see lots of variety tomorrow, so can't wait. As usual, for anyone who's been tuning in and hasn't been following along, you can always watch this on YouTube later if you want to actually follow along and try this yourself. I will be uploading this to YouTube a little bit later, as soon as possible, as soon as the internet allows me to upload it, you know. So you can check that out. What else do I say here? Oh, I'll open up that Facebook event, so if you were on the Facebook event and you RSVP'd, or even if you didn't, you can just head back there anyway, and that way we can all post our beautiful photos. So I really hope you decide to take some nice photos of your finished paintings and share them. Again, I have to say, you guys are all so nice and positive. I love, you know, just the positivity and happiness that's coming from all of this. Every time I go into any of those past event groups, all I see are just beautiful, positive comments, everybody complimenting each other, being like, I love your mountains, I love your birds, I love your... It's just so nice to see, and I can tell it's really making people's days. They go, oh wow, really? Like, I didn't really think it was great, but I'm really glad you like it, and it really changes everybody's mood. It just makes everyone so happy, so thanks guys for being so nice in there. And honest. I think a lot of you are being honest too. It's not just for the sake of being nice. You're like, I legitimately love your trees, and how did you do it? And you're like teaching each other what you did. So I think that's just the best. So I hope that keeps continuing. And then, yeah, as usual, this event was completely free, as all events will be on this page. If you feel like supporting me today, I once again did put my e-transfer link and PayPal link in the top description there. So thank you to those who are wanting to support me for my time here, but again, I'm doing this with the intention that they're free as well. So no expectations, those are always just little extra surprises at the end. You can see that I'm actually just really pumped about the idea that people are having fun painting and just being so positive, and we're creating a really nice community of positive, happy people right now, and I think that's really special right now, so that's most important. As long as that keeps happening, I'll be good, so those are there if you want them, but otherwise just thanks for coming. So I'm just re-adding this last little detail here, just for my last little cardinal. Oh, and I forgot his wing. I have to do that too. I jumped ahead with that. Just excited to get his little facial features on here. Thanks, Heather! Hey, nice to see ya! Heather, this will be on YouTube as usual, so if you want to recreate it, you're welcome to. Glad you like it. I was really basing this one off of a lot of requests from all of you, so I'm really pumped that you like it, and everyone else too. Just finishing up, Heather. This is like the very last step, actually. But yeah, YouTube later if you want. Oh, and I'll be hanging out on Twitch after this too, so for anyone who knows about the Twitch platform or wants to try that out, I'll be on twitch.tv/erinbunpaints for the next, I don't know, hour or two. I'm just going to be painting. So what I do on Twitch is I just kind of do off-the-cuff painting. I'm just designing upcoming designs and chatting with whoever's there. They like to give me suggestions for what to paint, so it's kind of fun. It's just more of a nice live interactive idea rather than doing a tutorial. I'm just painting for fun and experimenting. So if you're into that, if you want to keep watching, maybe you're about to cook dinner or something, you want to throw me on, you can head over there. There's a link in the top description as well. But I'll wait for at least a couple minutes before I get to that, of course. I'll make sure everybody is taken care of on Facebook and on Twitch if you're following along too, because I have a couple viewers there. Oh no, Heather, I'm sorry. I think it's a crazy time for a lot of people. Even though things like school, you know, is out and just all these other things, obviously graduation is still a thing that we want to celebrate, and lots of things kind of ending, I guess, with the new season coming. I've been hearing that from a lot of people. It just seems like everything in June is like exploding, so totally understand. It's no worries at all. I'm glad you popped in just to say hey, and again, they're all there on YouTube whenever you want, so really no rush. Whenever you've got it all figured out, you can always pop in for another. I'll be here for a while. I don't expect to be going anytime soon, so yeah. And Ju, yep, you got your thumbs up there. Oh, you're welcome, Melissa. I'm glad you had a good time. Joanne, you're welcome. And Ju, again, you're welcome. Marissa, you're welcome. I'm glad you could catch up and pop in. Trisha, you're welcome. Yeah, for sure, Allison. So it's just what I would call a wider triangle. It's nothing thin. I wouldn't call it like a thin, elongated triangle. It's more so just larger, just kind of poking off there. It still comes to a little tip, but it's kind of condensed, just a little, more of a little nub. So there you go. You too, Andrew, you're welcome, yep. I'm going to keep painting, so I know it's going to be a good evening, good afternoon. Oh, okay, okay. Still, it's just not fun, though. Heather, I mean, I'm talking to you. Yeah. Yeah, it's still just like a little bit of a shock, and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, we gotta go. Think you'll stay in the same area? You can go closer to Barry? I don't know. Kind of in between. Yeah, no worries, Mary. And Mary, if you want to rewatch this, you can actually rewatch me do it at your own speed. So I'll be posting this to YouTube, so you can rewatch it on your own time. So you're welcome to make notes, but just so you know, you don't need to remember anything. You can always go back and rewatch and actually watch me teach it to you again. So just so you know, that is an option. You're welcome, Colleen. You're welcome, Lori. And Mary, you're welcome too. Yeah, no worries. I kind of whip out the Cardinals a little quick just because I've done them so often. But yeah, take your time for sure. You kind of see, though, that they're just a couple steps here and there. It's nothing crazy. You're welcome, Lisa. You're welcome, Jennifer. I'm glad you had an excellent afternoon. All right, Allison, I hope that was good there. For a nice little close-up. Awesome, Heather. Cool. I love that you're still there. It's just always nice to know when people from Berrien area are popping in. KW area, Guelph area. Makes me a little happier. Valerie, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. You're welcome, Alicia. And again, for those watching and maybe not painting along, YouTube. Go to YouTube in a couple hours. It'll be up in a couple hours. And then indefinitely after that, so lots of time. You're welcome, Kellyanne, so much. I'll see you again very soon, I'm sure. Oh, this is so tilted in the back, oh boy. Again, I've moved stuff around recently and it just... Oh, there we go, there we go. Need to keep playing around with my setup. You're welcome, Allison. Yeah, I hope that helped with your little beak there. Okay, it looks like a lot of you are signing off. Oh, Mary. Oh, that's okay. No worries. They might be a little different. I know when I make mine, they always turn out a little bit different here and there, so... But if you want any extra help with it, you can always message the Facebook page, and I can try my best to help you out. You can send me a photo of what you have, and then I can give you some suggestions if you need. So feel free to do that. See you next week, Charlene. Oh, please, Heather, yes, change it up. I was saying at the start, I anticipate I'll see maybe blue jays, for example, little chickadees, like little yellow birds would be cute there too. Red-winged blackbird. Can't say I've seen it, but I could probably imagine what it looks like, and I'm sure it would be great. Yeah, you should change it up to whatever you want. Make it yours, your own painting. Okay, yeah, I was just saying I see a lot of people signing off here, so I think I'll sign off with Facebook Live as well. But again, if you want to keep hanging out, I'll be on Twitch for another hour or two, just painting and messing around, so feel free to meet me there. Otherwise, again, thank you guys so much for coming. I'll see you tomorrow, perhaps, at 7 p.m. Otherwise, lots of other events coming up soon. I'll be posting those soon. Keep your eyes on the Facebook page as usual. Okay, bye, Facebook. See you later. You're welcome.